Okay, I'm going to show you the installation of the Aquamatic cover on a Plungie pool. I'm going to give you some pointers as we go. So, number one, you see this is the drive system mounted in a 12-inch wide pit that needs to have at least 12 inches from the water's edge. If I were doing it again, I'd make it 13 inches from the water's edge over this way, because there is the track housing lines up on that chamfered edge, and that pushes the track that way an inch. So what happens is this gets a little tight in between here and that bracket that holds up this plate for the cover. So other things you need to know: in my municipality in Virginia, they're very concerned about grounding anything metal near the pool. So I did add a ground lug here, you see that? And then I tied a wire to the track there. They call that bonding in the world of electrical. And then you see the other thing here is, this is the track guide, and there's a little T there. This lines up. So when you're installing it and you set it in the hole, you lift this system until you're able to insert that into the track. You have to remove that screw and then put it back in later. And the other pointer I want to give you is, see these screws here? They're hard to get in at an angle with a hammer drill, tend to strip. So what I had to do was mark the holes, kind of pull the whole assembly out, drill the holes, and then put it back. And then what I found was, if I use some hex head bolts like here, hex head stainless steel screws that I bought at Home Depot, that it's easier for me to drive them in, because I could drive them in with a ratchet. So you see that there. So these are the covers for my masonry lid, and I also grounded each one of the covers. If you can see that, I added a grounding lug down there. There's a pre-threaded tapped hole there that I screwed into, and then I ran a grounding wire and I grounded each one of those. In theory, when those lid covers are on top, they ground together because they all touch, but I just didn't want any pushback from my inspector, so I grounded them all. So the other couple things you need to know: this is, I call it track housing, and inside of there is actually the track. So there's two pieces. And when you look at the Aquamatic instructions, a lot of the applications are just the track and not the track housing. The track housing raises the track a half an inch off of the top of the pool, so that it has room, the cover has room to travel. If not, the cover would be too tight to this pool edge. Another thing is, on a Plungie pool, they talk about, so this is the end of the pool, obviously. In Aquamatic's world, they call this the bond beam. And so you have to have, on a Plungie, a bond beam, because if you drill this, I wouldn't want to drill this into my Plungie pool. Okay, so when you pour your concrete deck, there has to be probably at least a 4-inch bond beam. I just did, I don't know, whatever I did, 11 inches. So that's a bond beam. I also put expansion joint in there so that it wouldn't push on when the concrete expands in the winter, it wouldn't push on my pool. So it's nice that this unit from Aquamatic comes assembled. So this, you just set in the hole, all the hydraulic lines are on it. So in their instructions, they talk about putting this together. You don't have to do that. The box from Plungie, the box from Aquamatic came, it was 18 feet long and weighed 540 pounds. So just in anticipation of that, so when you get your shipment, that's what you could expect. So here's the other end. You can see the track that slides into there. I just have that clamp in there to keep it from going into my pool for now. You can see where I added a ground clamp, number 8 wire, and a ground lug. They sell those at Lowe's and Home Depot. and the electrical section hanging on the wall. So other things that you need to know. So when you mount this housing to the top of the plungy pool, you see there is the pre-drilled factory hole from Aquamatic. You got to move it in way tight to this edge right here, because that only gets you into the edge of the plungy pool about 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch if you go in that far. If you're out here, you're into your concrete deck, and that question whether or not you get in a good grab at your concrete deck or whatever you may have going around. So that some other pointers for you. So you can see it being installed, and now this end here I don't have put in here yet because I'm waiting to put the cover on and the ropes, and I'll do another video on that in a minute. And you can see I'm bonding meaning tying together this piece to that piece. I'm going to just do another clamp there, and you can see this is the track that goes inside of the track housing, if that makes sense. And then so that will lift up, and they give you this black, I call it a shim material, and the way it works is the shim material goes in between this crack right here and lifts it up so that it mates. See, this little channel here will mate with that channel, so that when you push that up with this track housing cannot come out that way. It's locked in with this channel. So I tell you that just because I had to figure it out. The other thing that you want to see is, you see where I ran the end of the track housing past there, so that when the other track comes, it will come here. So you can see that. I'll set a piece in there so you can see what I mean. So here is, that's kind of what it's going to look like when it's all together. That's a piece of scrap I cut off. Okay. And what else? Oh, okay. Other pointers for you. So there's a gap here for the cover to go underneath, and you just have to make sure the bottom of this right there is above the top of the track. And the other pointer for you is, you see this and this don't operate at the same time. So when you fire up your hydraulic pump, one direction will move this only, and then the uncover will move that only. They don't both move at the same time. My electrician. And then I'll walk you over to my pad. So here's my pad. Here's my hydraulic lines and my ground coming out of my conduit. And there's my hydraulic lines that come. And they attach right there to the end of the pump. And you fill that up, you run it, and then you fill it up again. Pretty simple. This is all plumbed. You gotta plumb it with, wire it with whips. Here's the switch. I haven't extended that yet. I gotta extend it out to my wall.